listening to Thriving Mindfully podcast with Ananda Leeke. Tune in and learn how you can be present, well, and the real you from the heart. Today I wanted to talk about the change in the relationship that we have with our loved ones when they die. The death of a loved one breaks open my heart, and it creates space for a change in the relationship that I've had with them in the physical realm. Now it is moving into an ancestral realm. When I look at the transition of my mother, Teresa B. Garton Leeke, from this physical realm on Mother Earth to her becoming a loving, wise, and well ancestor, I'm realizing that our relationship changes and gets deeper, and I am connected to her through me recognizing and accepting and actively cultivating the relationship as an ancestral relationship. I can connect with my mother as my loving, wise, and well ancestor, and in doing so, I can tap into her wisdom, her love, her protection, and her legacy. And I can do the same for all of my other loving, wise, and well ancestors. And when I do that, I'm accessing this thing that I call ancestral medicine. And ancestral medicine is the gifts of love, wisdom, protection, and legacy that my loving, wise, and well ancestors give to me just because of who I am, their descendant. Ancestral medicine is my birthright that's activated when I choose to accept and cultivate this relationship with the loving, wise, and well ancestors. When I choose to listen and follow what they're guiding me to be and to do. When I choose to lean in to their love and their protection and their wisdom for support, when I ask for support. Anytime I do this, I am living as an ancestral ambassador, and I'm living out their legacy. Now, for me, when I think about ancestral ambassador, I am not only actively choosing to access the ancestral medicine that they have given me, I'm talking about it, I'm sharing about it, I'm inspiring and encouraging all of us to tap into the loving, wise, and well ancestors that we have. Why? Because they're there. They're waiting. They're there surrounding us. They can help us move through this life. They can help us navigate the death, the loss, and the grief. We can have relationships with our loving, wise, and well ancestors. And some of the ways that I remind myself of these beautiful, beautiful, beautiful spirit beings in my life, and the privilege of getting to be connected to my loving, wise, and well ancestors, I look at the quotes of some of my greatest teachers. And I wanted to share a couple of the quotes that I've been leaning into Thich Nhat Hanh is a Vietnamese Buddhist monk who is one of my greatest teachers, especially for mindfulness and meditation and Buddhism. And Thich Nhat Hanh made his transition a couple of years ago. And one of his quotes that I love says, "We have to live in a way that liberates the ancestors and future generation who are inside of us. Joy, peace, freedom, and harmony are not individual matters. If we do not liberate our ancestors, we will be in bondage all our life, and we will transmit that to our children and our grandchildren. Now is the time to do it. To liberate them means to liberate ourselves." And this quote really gets into me taking on and expressing this privilege of being an ancestral ambassador. As an ancestral ambassador, I am choosing to live in a way that honors my loving, wise, and well ancestors and the sacrifices that they made, that I live freely and fully as I possibly can, that I live with joy and peace and freedom and harmony. Because when I choose to do that, and I actually do it, it liberates my ancestors and my future generation. Another quote that I wanted to share from Thich Nhat Hanh really gets to me looking at who I am and whose I am. And I'm looking for it in my journal. So just deal with me. Here it is. There are two different ones. This first one is, "When we respect our blood and spiritual ancestors, we feel rooted." This is Thich Nhat Hanh. When we respect our blood and spiritual ancestors, we feel rooted. And so one of the things that has really caused me to wonder what the fuck is going on, now that my mother has made her transition, it's almost been 8 months, is there's some days where I don't feel grounded. I wake up and I'm like, ugh. And this quote, "When we respect our blood and spiritual ancestors, we feel rooted," that reminds me to call on my loving, wise, and well ancestors, including my mom, especially in those moments when I feel afraid, when I feel alone, when I feel like, when I'm missing her, and when I'm missing others that have made their transition. That quote right there reminds me to tap in and to call on and invite my loving, wise, and well ancestors to be in my presence actively, because they're there, they're just waiting for the invitation. This other quote from Thich Nhat Hanh helps me connect with my ancestors in my body and my breath, and I just really love it. "Breathing in, I see all my ancestors in me. My mineral ancestors, plant ancestors, mammal ancestors, and human ancestors. My ancestors are always present, alive in every cell of my body, and I play a part in their immortality." I'm going to read this again. This is Thich Nhat Hanh's quote. And before I start, I want to invite you to take a deep breath in and then out. So the quote reads, "Breathing in, I see all my ancestors in me. my mineral ancestors, my plant ancestors, my mammal ancestors, and human ancestors. My ancestors are always present, alive in every cell of my body, and I play a part in their immortality. And so this quote does a couple of things. One, again, in those moments when I'm struggling in this death, loss, and grief journey, the breath, connecting with my breath, breathing deeply, breathing mindfully, connecting with my body, allows me to get grounded. Being grounded as I move through the emotions, the thoughts, the sensations in my body that have come up and that move around, supports me. Getting grounded, that's like my first thing. Get grounded with the body and the breath. Because there have been moments, and there may be more moments, where my level of anxiety, my tears, my emotions, my anger, all kinds of things, they show up in the body. And so for me, part of my grief self-care is to use mindfulness practices like the deep breathing to ground myself. So that's one thing about this quote. This quote also expands my understanding of my ancestors. Not only are they from my family and also various spiritual and cultural ancestors, but the mineral ancestors, the plant ancestors, the mammal ancestors. This lets me know that I am one with everything and everyone, past, present, and future. And I can call on this amazing cadre of ancestors to support me. And to know that through the oneness that I share with all of my ancestors and everyone and everything on the planet, that this energy, this massive, brilliant, bold, loving energy is alive in every cell of my body. And that strengthens me. It strengthens me. It strengthens me. And it grounds me. Maya Angelou, Dr. Maya Angelou, has a couple of quotes that really have helped me begin to embrace my role as an ancestral ambassador, someone who's encouraging and inspiring folks just like you to dive deep into their relationship with their ancestors, the loving, wise, and well ancestors. And so I wanted to share a couple of the quotes with you. Dr. Maya Angelou wrote, "I honor all our ancestors who tried to stay alive and be somebody so that we could be here, and try to accept that we've been loved, each of us, maybe by somebody 3 generations ago who never even thought." And I gotta find the rest of the quote. It's written in small print, so just deal with me. That's what I get for writing in my journal. So I'm gonna start over with this quote. So Dr. Angelou writes, "I honor all our ancestors who tried to stay alive and be somebody so that we could be here, and try to accept that we've been loved, each of us, maybe by somebody 3 generations ago who never even thought what name you would carry, that they paid for you already." That right there that right there is everything for me. And it really makes me think about all of my indigenous and African ancestors that went through the genocide in America, the genocide of indigenous people, and the Ma'afa, the Middle Passage, the slave trade, and slavery, and Jim Crow, and the Civil Rights era. All of my ancestors who tried to stay alive and be somebody so that I could be here today. I'm going to read this quote one more time. Dr. Maya Angelou wrote, "I honor all our ancestors who tried to stay alive and be somebody so that we could be here, and tried to accept that we've been loved, each of us, maybe by somebody 3 generations ago who never even thought what name you would carry, that they paid for you already." And this really makes me think about my Leeke family ancestors that I know. I have documentation about their story. My great-great-great-great-grandparents, Peter and Catherine Leeke, and their 14 children, including my great-great-great-grandfather, Leonard Leeke. They escaped from Hagerstown, Maryland. They escaped as people of African descent who were enslaved around 1839, 1840, 1841. And they walked over 400 miles. They traveled by foot, by horse and buggy, by steamships. 400 miles, over 400 miles to Amherstburg, Canada, which is right across from the Detroit River. And they made it, all of them, all 16 of them, they made it. They had no idea that my father, my grandfather, my brothers, all of the different cousins that I'm connected to, those that I don't even know their names, all the aunts and uncles, they had no idea that by leaving, by liberating themselves, they liberated us. That's part of my ancestral medicine. Calling on them, leaning into their love, seeking their support and their wisdom and their protection. So, knowing these things and keeping them in my heart, and also sharing my journey and how I'm using my ancestral relationships and tapping into the ancestral medicine as an ancestral ambassador is really helping me in my own grief journey. It's one of the reasons why I am embracing thriving mindfully with death, loss, and grief. So thank you for listening, and I'll continue to share more about how I'm learning to embrace thriving mindfully with death, loss, and grief. Tune in for some Ananda commercials for what's coming up and how we might work together. Thanks again. Death, loss, and grief happen to each of us throughout our lifetime. There's no way to escape them. They change us in our lives without any notice. They are filled with messy and hard moments that leave us feeling overwhelmed and out of control. I know in the past 59 years of living on Mother Earth that I've learned that Death, loss, and grief are a masterclass in surrender. And in the last 7-8 months of dealing with the loss of my mom and loving, wise, and well ancestor Teresa B. Garden Leeke, I am learning how to embrace her death, my loss, and my grief with a softness that is rooted in my heart, that allows me to say that I am learning how to walk this all out as a thriving mindfully journey in death, loss, and grief. And so this year, I decided to share the lessons I'm learning in a monthly Grief and You retreat that is designed to encourage and support you in learning how to embrace thriving mindfully with the death, the loss, and the grief that you face in your own life. The Grief and You retreat will be held on March 17th, April 13th, May 5th, June 30th, July 28th, August 25th, September 29th, October 27th, November 17th, and December 15th from 2 to 3:30 p.m. via Zoom. If you like to explore how you can begin to embrace thriving mindfully with death, loss, and grief, or if you're struggling with them, go to anandaleeke.com/events to get more information about these monthly retreats, the Grief and You retreats, and to sign up and join me. There are 3 different payment options because I want to make sure that people have access to it. So it's a sliding scale with 3 different types of options. So check it out. And I'll see you in the Grief and You retreats. Take care. One of the best ways to develop your own understanding of human design is by getting a reading, by getting a coaching session. And so that's what I'm offering as your human design doula. Go to anandaleeke.com/human design to learn how we can work together. If you're looking for ways to inspire and empower yourself to be present well in the real you, and you want to take advantage of some of the things that I use, check out my Amazon store. Go to amazon.com/shop/Ananda Leeke, and there you'll find the Thriving Mindfully store, which is filled with recommendations on things that I have used in my own life, relationships, and career to be present well in the real me. Check out my 3 mindfulness books, my yoga and self-love inspired novel, Love's Troubadours, my mindful creativity memoir, That Which Awakens Me, and my mindful technology memoir, Digital Sisterhood, in addition to various books, various products, essential oils, crystals, wisdom card decks, all kinds of things that I've used in my own life and spiritual and self-care practices to be who I am today, including the sound bowls that I use, the koshi chimes, the ocean drum, you name it, it's there. Check it out. Thank you for patronizing me on Amazon. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to the Thriving Mindfully podcast. If you're ready to be inspired and empowered with my coaching support, join me in the Thriving Mindfully Academy. Visit anandaleeke.com/academy. Now, if you're ready to dive deeper and move past your comfort zone with my one-on-one coaching program, book a discovery call with me today. Visit anandaleeke.com. If you need something juicy to read, check out my 3 mindfulness books: Love's Troubadours, a self-love and yoga-inspired novel; That Which Awakens Me, a mindful creativity memoir; and Digital Sisterhood, a mindful technology memoir. Go to anandaleeke.com/books. All of my books are available on Amazon.com. Well, that about wraps us up. And as I always like to say, may we all continue to embrace thriving mindfully in everything that we think, feel, say, and do. See you next time.